I'm with Cam and Joe today, who've travelled from Marlborough. Guys, tell us a little bit about your deal today.
Well, it's a ex-residential institution for people with learning difficulties.
Okay.
And we have a vision to turn it into a large 15-bed HMO.
Okay, that's pretty big.
In Swindon, yeah.
We've got a reasonable design standard, so we're trying to sort of raise the bar a little bit of how HMOs are done. And so Joe's got a design background.
Okay, that's always an advantage.
Yeah, it's very useful, very useful.
Nice. Yeah. So how much are you looking for today?
We're looking for an investment of 250,000, and that will cover the purchase costs and the stamp duty.
Yeah. We're going to cover the refurb costs ourselves.
Okay.
So it'll be a bit of a combined deal between us and the investor, hopefully, or the angel investor. And yeah, we're looking forward to it very much.
Great. Well, good luck. I think it's just about time for you guys to head in.
Okay, so this is Joe and Cam's deal they're bringing to us today. It's a 15-bed HMO they've just got planning on. It's currently bed and breakfast, but they have got planning to now convert it into the 15-bedroom HMO. It's in decent condition, isn't it?
If those are existing, then that is.
I mean, you do a few of these, just don't you? I mean, you'd be proud to own that, wouldn't you?
Looks good.
I mean, I'm just, you know,
Nice
one of the
garden.
things I'm interested in is what it's going to cost to actually convert with, you know, fire precautions, and if it's not up to the current fire regs, and if it's just getting planning, it's got to do with the new regs, which are probably up and above what it is for a bed and breakfast now. So
yeah, because the refurb costs look quite low, but actually, if it's in that condition, then that kind of makes more sense.
soundproofing is the other thing I think that's just been upgraded by the local authorities as well. So shall we get the guys in?
Yeah.
Yep, looking forward to this. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Cam and Joe, thank you very much for coming today. We do really appreciate people bringing deals to us rather than us having to chase around the country trying to find them ourselves. So that's great. It saves a lot of petrol and the economy and everything else. Now, tell me a bit about yourselves, please.
I'm Cam Price. I'm a New Zealander. Been over here for about 12 years now with my wife and now 2 little daughters. I've got a background in equine nutrition, so I own an equine nutrition company, and so I'm MD of that. But Joe and I have been partnered now for about 18 months or so, and now we're forging on with the property journey, and both enjoying it very much.
I'm Joe Weeks, and I am a user experience designer by day for a large telco, and I am in the same similar situation to Cam. Well, I'm not from New Zealand, but we have similar kids the same age, literally days apart. Sort of how we came together, actually, sort of bumped into each other in the hospital and started talking about stuff. And yeah, and it's like 18 months later, and here we are. It's been a bit of a whirlwind, but yeah, we're both property enthusiasts, and since we started the company, it's really just gone from strength to strength, and we just really enjoy everything about property, so it's a lovely side hobby to have, I'd say.
Yeah. What worries me, you say hobby. That worries
Not
me
hobby,
slightly.
it's my, I would probably prioritise it over my day job, definitely. But at this moment in time, I can't just give up my day job,
No,
and I'm not going to rush into doing that.
That's a very, 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 very wise. So let's kick off with, do you want to tell us something about the deal, about how you came about it and why you're so interested in buying it?
Yes, so this deal is a ex-residential home, and we have a vision to turn it into a 15-bed HMO. It's based in Swindon, which is pretty much on our doorstep. It's about 10 to 15 minutes away from where we live. We both live in Marlborough in Wiltshire, and we have a HMO up north in Barnsley as well. And we saw this deal, and the fact that it's on our doorstep, and the fact that it's such a good deal. We know the area so well. It's on one of the best roads in Swindon. And we just we really like the property and we see a lot of potential there.
Was it on the market, or how did you come across the venue?
It was on the market with an estate agent.
We originally were focusing in the north and looking at higher yielding property up there, but we've recently slightly adjusted our strategy, still with HMOs, but looking further south, and in particular the southwest, to try and garner some of the interest that London has in the southwest, and people sort of migrating that way a little bit as well. So the interest is going up as far as we can see. The demand is going up for this type of housing. So we thought it's on our doorstep. Capital values are higher, but we build the capital value into the deal, and it looks even better after 5 or 10 years.
And you say demand is going up. What have you done? How do you know there is demand for this particular product in this particular area?
I guess because it's on our doorstep, we know quite a network of people in Swindon and the business people that are there. Some recruitment agents, for example, that are quite busy with placing people in places for transfers of jobs and things like that.
We aim to give it a really high standard. My wife's actually an interior designer as well. So we've also got a good arsenal of contacts for nice furniture and finishings and labour. So
Are the photos CGIs? Because it looks like it's done already. I mean, it's very good quality.
Well, this is the
That's
beauty
how
of
it is
it.
now.
It's all set up with en-suites already. It's been maintained till very recently. We were surprised when we looked around it. Anything which should look like it could have been broken has been replaced and fixed. The refurb, hence the low cost of the refurb for such a large property, is mainly cosmetic. There's a reconfig of 4 rooms, I think, and that's it.
Just to make them a bit bigger,
Yeah.
and just make them a bit more comfortable to live in, and to meet the standard regs as well from the HMO licensing.
So just as a summary of the schedule of works, are you replacing any bathrooms, or is it literally
There's 4 en-suites. 2 of them we're going to replace and 2 new ones.
Have you given any thought to maintaining its existing use as opposed to going for private sector HMO rentals?
It's not something we know about, but obviously we'd be open to.
Because what I was, I don't know what the market is in that area, but one thing about the HMO market is you've got the gross rent, which of course assumes pretty much full occupancy, plus you've got the management costs and all of that. Whereas with the care as your tenant, it would likely to be one tenant with one rent payment.
Yes.
And they would be responsible for a lot of the internal sort of day-to-day. It might be an option to increase the net returns on this project if there's a market for that use in that area. Of course, we don't know why the old people packed it up, whether it was just
Yeah, we're not sure if it's
viable or
COVID
not viable.
or we're not sure.
No, it's
I
a
mean,
very good point.
I would say that I've recently sold a block of 14 flats to an investment company who rent them to a charity, and the charity are funded by the local authority, and they put in adults that need some assistance and care, and they have a manager in there, and you know, these local authorities are responsible for these young people who have got issues, and it's costing them an absolute fortune to house them. In a very sad situation, but it may well be one that if you talk to one or two housing associations initially, or even the council initially, you might find that's another angle, because they'll take it off you maybe for 5 years, fixed rent, you know, repair it and so on. It might be easier than what you're suggesting. However, what I like about this is you've got 2 or 3 different options.
Sure.
And I think with any deal, if you've got 2 or 3 options, you know, if one doesn't work, then you can go on to the second one sometimes. Helen, do you any sort of more thoughts on what we've said so far?
Absolutely, I love that, and to have more than one exit strategy is always a wonderful thing, absolutely. So you have an HMO already in Barnsley that you mentioned. Who manages that for you?
We have a local management company managing it for us,
Right.
And it's going really well. We only hear from them once at the end of every month when they send a statement. They very rarely trouble us. It's only at the last minute. So we're really pleased with how it's going from a passive income point of view.
Right. And who would manage this?
Again, we'd have a local management agency running it. from an HMO point of view.
And you've identified them, or that's still to be determined?
To be honest, we haven't
We haven't
identified them.
chosen,
Yeah.
no.
Okay.
We did want them to be involved in the sort of deal pack, I suppose, so that they can give some ratification to the demand in the area and that sort of thing. We just haven't quite got to that stage. The offer was accepted last week,
Okay.
and so it's all
Perfect timing, isn't
absolutely.
it? Perfect timing.
You guys
Bit
came
of a
to
whirlwind, to be honest.
And in terms of the purchase price, how do you know that that's a good purchase price?
It stacks up for us commercially. So if we
Okay.
look at it on yields and look at the potential upside for us, it works.
Yeah.
We originally wanted to go in a bit lower, naturally, as you do, but there was another couple of offers that were on the table. They weren't as attractive to the vendors as ours was.
Right.
So we had to go a bit higher, but then we recrunched the numbers, worked it back through, and it was no problem. It's still a good deal. And so we thought, okay, we're happy with that. Obviously, the surveys will throw up any issues that might be there with undervaluation or something like that, but we don't expect it to.
Can I drill down possibly, please, on your build costs? Have you considered, are there any fireworks that need requiring to be done?
Fire doors and that sort of thing.
Yeah, fire precautions.
It's pretty well equipped at the moment, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's had those
That's not
considerations.
really what I asked.
Sorry.
It's sort of what I asked, but isn't really the answer I wanted, to be fair. The question, when you go for planning permission, obviously it then triggers a building regulation application for any works that need doing. And some of those works, the building regulations change all the time. They get harder and harder and harder, tougher to do. And obviously, but fire is very, very, very important. You need to get a fire certificate on this at the end of the day. And obviously, quite often, soundproofing as well is being updated. So my question is, in that 60,000, have you allowed any money for fire and soundproofing? And if you haven't, have you not done so because you've found out that it doesn't need upgrading?
When we viewed the property, we checked all of the fire doors were fire doors, and they all were. There's a large plant room in the basement, which where all the sort of main plant is, and we haven't allowed for that cost. We are working with an architect who has submitted, he says 90% of the HMOs in Swindon, so he knows the regulations inside out, and he actually lives about 2 minutes away from the property. He's actually there today doing an initial viewing, so we're working closely with him to make sure all goes smoothly.
It's so easy to think, great, we're all set to go, you get it all done, your wife does the most beautiful job of, so we all want to live there if we could. Yeah. So that's all fine, and I understand that, and I think, that's great, but you need to make sure that you can get your license or whatever is required. Yeah. Obviously, if there was a fire and there's a problem and it wasn't quite as it should be, that's a very, very serious manslaughter job. So my advice to you is to go back and make sure that you have got all the necessary building reg approval and that you adhere to those to the point.
Yeah. Okay, we'll take that on board.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I just want to ask a question about the planning permission that you got granted. It's dated 2003, which is valid for 5 years. So is there actually current planning permission for the change of use?
No.
No, for the change of use, no. So we'd have to go through planning.
So it has to. So okay.
So the current use that went bust, is that a B&B or is this the 12-bed sui generis?
The 12-bed.
Yeah. So this this was implemented.
Yeah.
But there's nothing been implemented since.
No, this is change of use from bed and breakfast.
Yeah.
To student store. Oh, right.
Yeah. So it's now currently.
Okay. So we don't have planning for the intended use that has.
Gotcha.
So our understanding is that's the current use class that you're looking at.
Sui generis. So you're looking to go from 12 to 15 beds, which will require another planning app.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because this explicitly states, doesn't it?
That
shouldn't
will
exceed 12 beds.
Yeah. That will trigger any new building
control. Absolutely. Yeah.
And maybe you may need to look at that and go, actually, we might be better off with keeping it 12. And I'm not saying that is the case, but
no, you're quite right.
You just need a building surveyor just to make sure. Architects are great; they make lovely drawings, right? Well, my experience of architects is once they've done all that, shake the hand, thank them very much, and go and get a building surveyor who will do a schedule of works for you, so you know exactly what's required, and he'll know the up-to-date regs.
Sure, brilliant.
We feel the property has ample parking, has a plot behind at the back of the garden with separate access as well,
That's it.
which is also of interest at a later date. But that's just, we feel that would help with the HMO being made larger for access and parking.
Are we saying you've bought it, you've agreed the price subject to planning permission?
Yeah.
So you've got 3 or 4, they're giving you 6 months to get planning or whatever it might be?
I don't think you've agreed that.
not 6 months.
Don't you
Sorry.
choose your words carefully.
Okay.
You've had an offer accepted,
Okay.
not subject to planning, haven't you?
Okay.
You've just
Yeah.
agreed to purchase it, end of.
Yeah.
And actually, to be fair to you, looking at this planning permission, so would I. You know, I don't see too much problem with it. Paul, do you want to look at some of these figures? Because you're
Yes.
quite bright.
Yeah, we can look at figures. Just one thing that I just wanted to get off my mind while I'm thinking of it. One red flag that went off when I saw Swindon is we have some clients based in Swindon, and you probably know it much better than any of us because you're locals. Honda's laid off a lot of staff in Swindon over the last 12 months, and I think it's continuing. 7,000 or something. That must be one of the major employers in the area. How's that going to affect something like this?
Unemployment rates you sort of referring to?
Rising unemployment rates
Yeah.
in general in the economy, but in Sweden before this hit, there was
Yes.
already rising unemployment. So
Yes.
how's that going to affect a deal like this?
Well, you would expect that, okay, there's going to be a bit of easing off of perhaps demand in the professional market. People are out of jobs, you know, but that's, you know, probably widely spread through the country for different reasons. And Honda, I looked at the rates last night, it's 3.7 at the moment in Swindon, the national average is 3.8. So it's about level with that at the moment. But yeah, I mean, I think we're all going to ride the wave of this a little bit. Not just, this is pre-COVID you're talking about, I understand.
Well, yeah, just only because I remember speaking with a client 6 months or so ago, and
Yeah.
they have properties in Swindon, and they were quite concerned
Yeah.
because Honda was laying off thousands
Yep.
of jobs.
Major employer in the area.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were, and they're continuing to do so.
Mm.
We are, I mean, if we were to look at the different demographics, the type of rooms that we're looking to put into this property here are fairly high standard, and so we would expect maybe to be going for a slightly higher catchment in terms of income level.
So back to John's point with regards to the figures, they seem to stack up. Obviously, the value is very much contingent on getting the 15 rooms. That's a fifth of your value gone if you don't.
Mm-hmm.
With regards to the money you're looking to raise and what you're looking to give for it, I'm sure that the others will come to this point, but looking for 250 grand, which essentially is all of the investment capital. So all of the risk from the investor pretty well.
Not quite, the 60 grand extra there.
Oh, the 60 grand
Well,
extra,
yeah.
sorry, I missed that.
Development
So we would cover the refurb costs
Yeah.
to have some skin in the game.
Okay.
That's,
Would you be funding that with your own cash?
yes.
Do you mind leading on with the valuation? How do you calculate your investment valuation of 1.1 million? Can you talk me through that calculation, please?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
yeah. For
I'm
sure.
not trying to put you on the spot, so
No.
I just want to understand your thinking behind it.
No. I mean it's a conservative estimate based on 10 times the gross yield, so gross rental income, and that's a commercial valuation that we've been told would be realistic based on that property.
Okay.
Yeah,
Using some comparables as well in Swindon.
yeah.
I think Helen will have something to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, I've got something to say about that. It's not
Sure.
generally how you value. You
Yeah.
know, a value would take your gross rent,
Mhm.
you would knock off a chunk of money for voids, running,
Mhm.
stamp duty, purchasers' costs, that kind of stuff, maintenance and voids and whatnot. So you'd probably knock off 20% of the gross rent,
Mhm.
and then you'd apply a yield based on that location. So typically in the Thames Valley, it's anything from 6 to 7.5% yield. The higher the yield, the lower the valuation at the end, essentially in that calculation. So, you know, based on a sort of a 20% deduction, gross to net, and say a conservative 7% yield, I think, you know, if your rents are correct, I think you've undervalued it on an investment valuation, which is good. But that will depend on the rents, and it will depend on a valuer in that town,
Yeah.
what yield they're prepared to apply. They might go, no, Swindon, it's not as good as, you know, Reading or Maidenhead or somewhere a little bit closer to town, so
Thought
it's
we'd
maybe
get Reading mentioned at some point.
7.5% rent. Happen to have a bulk
That's
of my
next on the
portfolio down the road in Reading, so.
Yeah, very good.
But I know Swindon will be valued not as strongly, so
Yeah.
I think probably 7, maybe 7.5%. So you're not a million miles away, but
Okay.
there might be some extra in there.
Pleased to hear that.
You're being safe,
Conservative, yeah.
conservative, aren't you?
We like that. We like that. We like that.
Thank you, Helen, but I really like that answer.
I-
To be cautious
I'm all,
and to be,
I'm all for conservative.
under promise, over deliver. I'm all for
Yeah,
that.
no, I like that. No, I totally agree. But have you run these numbers on 12 versus 15 units?
We've run them on 14 versus 15. For the HMO licence, we're contingent to maybe have an extra kitchen on the first floor if they require that. We've got two kitchens going in, well, one going in extra to the one that's there, but we may have to put another kitchen on the first floor, which would lose a room for that. So we've done 14. We haven't gone back down to 12 to answer your question.
Well, that's your worst case, isn't it? You've absolutely got to do that.
Which is what it's said at the moment, planning-wise, isn't it? So yeah.
Right.
Ranjan, if it's not in a conservation area, it's not going to be listed. Or it's unlikely to be listed, Nicholas.
Could be in a conservation area and not be listed.
Not often.
No.
You've been very quiet for a change. It's not like you.
No, I think I'm a bit concerned about the rent levels. It's the net rent levels. Once you've taken into account voids, I think HMOs are going to be challenged over the next few years, and occupancy levels will be challenged. There's a lot of cost in terms of management and also the changeover. But also the utilities. I mean, we do a lot of HMOs in London, but we've done separate utility. We've actually configured the electric individual supply for each room, so they're responsible for their own bills. And it just gets rid of a huge amount of cost because then it just becomes the Bahamas in terms of room temperature, and if you go around these places to visit. So I'm worried about the actual net rent that we're going to realise over the next few years. I mean, to be honest with you, I think it's the planning permission. We're entering into a time now where there's so much that it can be done with permitted development, and you seem to be picking a project that there's a battle to fight when there's
to be fair,
so much
Ranjan, you are a bit obsessed with PD rights, aren't you? So I mean, not everybody is, you know.
If someone else is doing a building, say under PD,
Yep.
in a similar vicinity, so they might take an office building or some space above shops or something like that, and they may configure that into lots of individual units with en suites, but they will be done as individual units with planning permission. Yeah. So therefore, it won't be considered an HMO. It would never need a license. They'd all have individual bills, and their net profit per room will be much higher than yours. So they would be able to compete in a different way to yours if they did that sort of project.
But with respect
half a
to
mile
you,
up the road.
Ranjan, I would rather, God forbid we any of us have to, but I'd rather live in that first floor room there than I would a first floor above a shop. Just putting it out there. I think we've got to the point where Nicholas will go on all day if we let him. And I think we've got to the point where we need to start making some decisions. Would you want to go first on this?
Yeah, can do.
Keep it brief.
Yeah, I'll be very brief and to the point, like us Antipodeans are good for.
I don't even know what that means. Go on.
Australians and New Zealanders.
I learned that.
You learned something. Okay. Location doesn't do it for me. I'm big on location, and I think that when someone mentions location, the first thing I think of is something negative. Then that's probably not for me. I think it seems to be the biggest you guys have done. You haven't quite indicated what sort of equity you're giving away, but I would have thought that if I was coming in to put in that sort of money into it, I'd be taking full control of it and taking the vast majority of the profit.
I think I'd like to say that I think you guys are very investable, and I'd love to work on a project with you guys. It's just that this deal is not really the type of deal that I want to go for. Personally, I think there are easier deals to be had for you guys to get more return. I think there's just a bit too many moving parts for me.
If this was a deal that you were going to look at, would you look at more the keeping it as the current use class?
I would like to explore that.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why I want to explore that, because you have surety of cash flow. You've got one tenant, basically, the state, and you've got surety of cash flow, and your net rent, I guarantee, would be higher than with the private sector model. The question is, why did the previous guys pack up?
Yeah.
Was it, because sometimes, particularly with old buildings, it's because they couldn't bring it up to regulations, because something had changed in the regulatory environment, which meant they couldn't bring it up to the spec to keep it running, so they decided to sell it on. So you just need to explore why the previous occupants packed up, whether there was no demand or whether the building wasn't up to scratch.
Both of you are very investable. very likeable, which is so important. And Cam, you're horsey, so I'm horsey,
You're an
so
ex-trainer,
that's another tick. My wife will love you, more than me probably, but anyway. Okay, so I like you. I'm not terribly keen on the deal. I'm not a great HMO man. The gentleman at the end is a much more HMO man than I am. I would like to keep in touch with you because I think, like Ranjan said, there's a lot of potential here. You're bright, you're intelligent, and I just don't think this is the right deal. And like Ranjan said, if you could get a local authority to take it, or someone funded by the local authority, then I think that's the way to go. A lot easier, a lot more simply for you. Mm-hmm. I know you're local and you know the area. I appreciate that. Mm-hmm. So today, I'm not going to invest, but I'd like to keep in touch with you. I'd like to see what else you come up with.
Okay, thank you very much.
I echo what the chaps have said about you both being investable. I particularly like the, kind of being down to earth and being realistic on your numbers. Where I question the realism is the refurb cost, and we've touched on if you had to had to add a kitchen, for example, on the second floor, then that's your 8K contingency is definitely gone there. So I do think maybe you need to look a little bit more like that. I question if it's the right deal for me because you are stepping up in this and I love that ambition. HMO again isn't my thing, so how much can I add to you to this value? So it's not for me, but thank you so much and beautifully presented.
Thank you
very much.
Very
for
professional.
looking at it.
Last man standing, hey? Crikey. It's tempting because of my expertise. We've got over 200 rooms in the Thames Valley, or units, I should say. We do a lot of office to residential conversions, and it's almost like potentially a diamond in the rough here. My concerns with it are the location. I echo that slightly, and thus the rent level. It seems high. I'm getting $650 for an ensuite room in Reading. So can you get that in Swindon? I'm not convinced.
Okay.
You're smiling, and I appreciate you've done your research.
Yeah.
I haven't done this level of research in Swindon, so I'd like to, know that for sure. The diamond in the rough is that I think, if you can get the 15 rooms, then you'll get a higher valuation if those rents are correct. Okay. Which means we could potentially bridge this, refinance it within 6 months, and I wouldn't have to put much money in. And if it worked, great, and then you guys could, go off and run it and do something. I'd like to see you guys running it more as well, I think. I think you've got to, in your first few deals, you've got to be more hands-on.
Sure.
Okay.
I don't like the fact you want to hand this to an agent. I've never seen an agent handle a 15-bed HMO well.
Oh, really? Okay.
So that you're just going to lose a huge amount of income from that. They're going to be huge voids and problems. You'll go back in after a year and see holes in ceilings from water that no one's picked up on, and all sorts of problems.
I think as
so
it's
they're very
local, it is a possibility we could definitely look at
need to get
managing
more
it.
hands-on with it, I would say.
At least initially.
Yeah.
If this was an office to resi conversion and you could get 20 studios out of it, it would be a no-brainer.
What?
I think it's
Nicholas, I don't see why you're bloody obsessed with this office to resi. I mean, at the end
because
of
you
the
get
day-
all studio, like
at the end
Ranjan
of the
said,
day,
you can get
it's
all.
a nice building. It's close to where you
Yeah,
are.
I agree.
You don't have to deal with those pesky planners.
Okay, look,
No, I understand.
here's where I'm going to go with it. I'm going to make you an offer. You might not like it. I'm going to make you an offer based on you getting planning for the 15 rooms, though. That's got to be critical, or getting the offer subject to that. Because without that, we're at 12 rooms. The value's not even going to be at that. It just won't work. The deal won't work. And then, we'll probably work through that together. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And I've saved you, losing your shirt on your first deal, which is going to be key. So bringing that expertise on a bridge refi, whatever we're going to do here, and the planning is going to be critical.
It's a big build-up, Nicholas.
I think we'll offer you all the money, but in an equity partnership, I'd want 65% of the profit for that, because I think my expertise in this sector, in this area, is going to be critical to you getting this deal done, full stop. And that's a lot more than I'd probably want to give away, because I could do this deal myself if I wanted to. But I would like to work with you guys, and I echo what the guys have said. You're highly investable, you're intelligent guys, you're driven. I'd love to work with you. I'd love to mentor you through this process. And for the first one, I think that mentoring is going to be quite a steep learning curve for you guys, and that's why the offer is where it is at. So.
Okay.
So,
yep.
do you want to have a little
Yes, please.
conflab somewhere and then
Okay.
Talk to the back of the wall.
talk to the back of the wall together and just
Don't want to say it.
come back to us?
Don't want to say it.
Firstly, thank you all for your advice and
Thank you.
insights. It's been very helpful.
Yeah, we came in today, as you saw, we were originally looking at debt finance to fund this. We've now moved to an equity position on it, and hopefully mentorship and input from yourself. And we didn't really want to go above a third. We thought a third sounded pretty good. There'll be 3 people in the deal, and so it's half of what you've offered. Would you be interested in going a third?
No chance. That's what, 33% rather than 65%.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't be prepared to go anything like that, I'm afraid, guys.
So, given that, we've just readjusted our ceiling. That was our ceiling, and but we wouldn't want to give away a controlling share. So feel that if we went to 49%, that would be our top.
Well, I'm not looking to control your business. I wouldn't necessarily want to be the controlling party. So it's more of a shareholding. It's more of a share of the profit. So if we could structure the deal to be the share of the profit rather than the control of the business through a shareholders agreement, would that be of interest? I'm really just interested in the profit, to be honest. I don't want to run your business. I want you to run your business.
Yeah, no, we understand that.
I'll oversee it and give you advice, of course, and mentor you through that.
It's difficult to run a business that you don't make the most profit out of. I've learned that firsthand in my experience. It becomes demotivating.
Sure. You guys have a day job, right? So this was a part-time hobby, I think.
This is the aim, to move into this full time, though, 100%.
Okay.
So we've got to wrap it up, guys. So what's the answer?
Okay.
No guts, no glory.
So,
Remember that.
So, would you come down to 60%?
I admire your tenacity.
Come on, Nicholas.
We've come a long way up.
I'd do 62.5%.
Go.
If this goes well, I'd love to work with you guys long term. Absolutely.
Great.
Commercial conversions and things are on our radar.
Yeah,
so
HMOs, commercial conversions. There's lots of PD rights coming out now, so there's going to be lots of available stock, lots of exciting opportunities.
Definitely.
Okay.
Okay, I think thank you very much.
All right.
Thank goodness for that. Well done.
Awesome.
Great.
Okay, guys, so did we get a deal?
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're really pleased.
Brilliant.
We got funding from Nicholas, and we're really looking forward to working with him moving forward.
Excellent. So what did you go in and offer, and what did it end up becoming?
We kind of went in with a sort of a ceiling or an idea that we could maybe be equal partners in this deal, so third. And of course, being the savvy investors that they are, they come in pretty high.
Okay.
And, or at least Nicholas did. But we weighed it up, and we talked to the wall a couple of times actually, and decided that if we leave this on the table and walk away, then we're going to be walking away from a lot of experience.
That's it.
And,
yeah, absolutely.
And if nothing else, it'll be a wonderful learning experience. And he's already came up to us straight after and has given us so much, clean information.
Really?
Just looking at floor plans and stuff. So
How exciting.
we're delighted, but yeah, it was 62.5%.
Okay.
Of profits, so we're just going to structure it that way.
Okay.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
and it was a great just being in the room with all the angels as well. They each gave their thoughts and insights on the project, which was really good to get.
Good. So a lot of tips and a lot of feedback.
A lot of experience in that room.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations,
Thank you
and
very
I hope
much.
it goes really well for you both.